Hello, welcome back again. No, it isn't a milk tray man, it's me. What I'm going to look at today is a letter opener kit, and the reason I'm going to look at it today and doing something slightly different is because we've had a few comments that the brass tubes on our LET2 and LET3, the tubes aren't very long, and some people might like to make a slightly longer one. Well, the first thing I'm going to say is that they're made the length they are, so if you buy a pen blank, you can make two letter openers with one pen blank. That's the primary reason for doing it. Now, you could, of course, if you wanted to, come along and buy a longer tube. We do sell longer tubes. This one I think is for an old Atom pen kit, but we have these. What I'm going to look at today, slightly different, and the reason for the title of this video is it's not rocket science, is because it's not rocket science. What I'm going to do is cut it in half, and I'm going to use a brass fitting, half a brass fitting at either end, and have a slightly thicker bit of wood in the middle. That's what I'm going to do now. It's not any more difficult than that. I am going to have to drill all the way through because my mandrel that I've got is a solid mandrel, but there are mandrels, double-ended mandrels. Forgive me, there's probably a name for them. I don't know what it is off the top of my head because pen mandrels are one of the least interesting things on the planet as far as I'm concerned. But if you've got a double-ended one, you don't need to drill all the way through. You only need to drill either end and fit these in, because the only reason you need a brass tube, or two reasons: one is to attach the fittings into, and the second one is for a bit of strength. So where you lose the strength in the middle of the blank, where you haven't got the brass tube, you need to make the wood a bit thicker. Or alternatively, because I'm well organised and I've left it over the other side of the workshop, you can use a 6mm dowel. Bear with me. There we go, 6mm dowel, you will see, really fits rather nicely inside a pen tube. So if you have a hollow part of the blank and you want to strengthen it a little bit concerned about it might break or whatever, with a bit of glue you could insert that into the centre of your workpiece where there isn't the brass tube. It is, at the end of the day, a letter opener. It's not for lifting up manhole covers, so it's not going to be under a huge amount of pressure, I would hope. But anyway, that's what I'm going to do today, and as I always say, let's get on with it. So I've got a bit of wood here. I'm not entirely sure what it is, to be truthful. I think it might be a Vancol, but it's a bit of stripy dark wood, and as you will see, it's longer than a standard brass pen tube, which is what comes with the letter opener kit. So what I'm going to do is square this up, drill all the way through, cut my brass tube in half, insert ends in either end, and then just turn it as I would normally turn it, just not very thin in the middle. Right, so there is my pen blank, drilled not quite centrally through there. Does it really matter? Not really. You'll see that it's slightly flat on the ends. Here's a little tip that I use. It's entirely up to you whether you do. How have I made that? That is actually with the end of the Jacob's chuck, because when the drill's gone in, you can actually create a flat end with the end of the Jacob's chuck to see where you're going. I've also cut, and you'll see the ends are a bit rough. They need a bit of just tidying up there, the brass tube in half. So I'm just going to get a little file, a bit of sandpaper, and just smooth those off a little bit, make sure I don't cut my finger like I did yesterday, and then we'll glue those into the blank and we will turn it as normal. It is important to stress at this point, you really need to make sure that either end is glued in. What you don't want to do is to have a tiny bit of glue, and when you push it on, it pops the brass tube out the other end, so it must be properly glued. I've used CA because I'm filming, and it's a little bit quicker, but where I've cut the brass tube in half, it means it's actually got me a slightly nice and tight fit on the mandrel, and the tighter and less it wobbles around on there, the better. As I said earlier, I utterly loathe mandrels. Generally I find them extremely inaccurate, but there we go. That's the piece mounted, and we'll get on and turn it. So just a quick recap before I put it together. If you're concerned about the strength of your wood in the centre where it doesn't have a brass tube, you can strengthen it with a dowel rod and some glue. I'm not going to do that because I don't need to with this bit because it's plenty strong enough. And you wouldn't be able to see what I did anyway because it's on the inside. So I'm now going to push this kit together with the relevant bits. Just to remind you, on this kit it's the fat threaded section at that end, and the heel end is the thin threaded section for the finial, and we'll just push it together. And then all we need to do is to screw on the blade and screw on the finial, and there we have an extended letter opener. It is a bit more hand size, to be honest, but it depends what you like. There's one of the original ones I've done in gold, so you can see the difference between the two sizes there. Well, just to say again, hence the title, it's not rocket science. I'm sure most of you already know pretty much everything I've covered in this video, but just to show you, there's the standard letter opener kit with the standard length tube, and there's the extended one there, so you can see the difference. It is a bit more hand sized, to be honest, but as I said earlier, it's not for heavy work, it is only for opening letters. We'll always sell you a longer tube. If you want to buy a longer tube, that's not a problem, but if you can do it with the ones you've already got, why not do that? Just before I go, one final thing, in case any of you have this wonderful idea, what a great idea, I'm going to do it with a pen. Well, there might be a couple of pen kits that you can do it with. I wouldn't recommend doing it with many of them. Pen kits are specifically designed for the mechanism length. Generally, if you've got a slimline pen and you want to make the back end a bit longer, you can do that. It's not a problem. It'll just look a bit odd. But as I say, any other kits that don't have a mechanism and aren't length specific for the tubes on the inside, that's a little tip, a little game you can play, see what you can come up with. I hope you enjoy whatever it is you do in your workshop. The Milk Tray Man is signing off. See you next time. Bye bye now.